All right, looks like we're ready to go. I apologize everyone for the delay.
Okay, thanks, Tara. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the May 2023 ESCR CAG meeting. Thank you for being here as always. I know at least one person has to leave early and a few people emailed me saying that they couldn't come. So that is probably a reflection of the small group we have today. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Desiree.
Great. Thanks, Paula and Tara. You can hear me okay? Okay, great. Thank you. I have to use this thing, headset thing. Okay, let me share my screen.
Tara, you might have to enable that. Oh, never mind. There we go.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah, no, I made it before I left.
Okay, perfect. Just trying to make the presentation a little bigger, but I guess it's not going to work. Okay, great. So thanks everyone who joined today for being here. As always, my name is Desiree Gazzo. I am with HNTB Lero, the Program Manager, Construction Manager, PMCM for DDC's Eastside Coastal Resiliency Program. I'm joined here today with colleagues from DDC. I'm not sure if there are any other agencies on, and folks from our team as well, especially our community construction liaisons. So glad to have them on. So tonight is meeting 33 of the Community Advisory Group. The 3 projects of the Coastal Resiliency Program that we will talk about today is Project Area 1, Project Area 2, just a bit, and then Parallel Conveyance. If everyone could just put themselves on mute, that would be best. Thanks, Paula, for taking care of that. The focus area topics for this meeting are a bit less than what we normally have, but we want to just focus the attention on Project Area 1. So we kept some of the other areas a little bit shorter. For hiring opportunities, we did just want to mention that we tabled at a job fair event this morning hosted by Henry Street Settlement, which included partners, goals, multiple employers, and community organizations. And that's just a photo from the job fair event today. I was not there personally, so if there are any questions, I think we could just take them back. And then we are collaborating with DDC on an info session event, which will actually be a DDC-led panel discussion and job fair on July 24th. So there will be a flyer and more information to come on that, but we did want to put that out there. So today we'll go quickly on the overview of contracts. We will do Project Area 1 construction updates, and then we'll jump into the PA1 phasing or construction approach review. We'll have our typical environmental monitoring slides. We have just a couple of Project Area 2 construction updates and parallel conveyance as well, which I probably should have led off with those, so that way PA1 was towards the end. But that's okay. You know, that's pretty small. So just to go over the overview of contracts, again, much of this has stayed the same as it has been. I added the East Houston Street retaining wall to the bottom here for Project Area 1. For Project Area 2, gates 13 and 17 were installed at the end of April. So in the presentation, we do have a few photos of those, which if anyone attended the CB3 meeting, there were photos there as well. And then for parallel conveyance, the water main replacement that was mentioned at the last meeting as upcoming is now in progress. Oh, oops. Again, with the 2023 construction activities for Project Area 1, much has stayed the same. We did add the East Houston Street South retaining wall pile installation the demolition of the south retaining wall and sidewalk is completed. And now the contractor will move on to pile install, which I know there was a question about having a little bit more detail on that at the last meeting. So in the next slide, we'll go over that. And then in mid-June, we'll start the import of the fill. That will be by barge. Again, I know there's always questions about the fill, so if it's all right, we can focus on that for CB3 or the next CAG meeting. This CAG meeting, we're going to focus on the phasing, the construction phasing. So with the kind of limited time we have in the next 45 minutes, we could address that again at the CB3 meeting, or we could send in questions and respond to that as well. So a little bit on the East Houston Street retaining wall, because there were some questions. So this is a graphic illustration. It is not a construction drawing. So just note that it's a graphic illustration of kind of the existing conditions and then the proposed conditions for the new retaining wall and kind of the park construction. So as you can see here, we have, again, this is just a cut through section. So this was the existing ped ramp, or is what's left of it. And then the ramps come down on both sides. This is a New York City DOT existing retaining wall here. These are the existing conditions. And then you have the greenway, the ball field fence, and then the fields. And then the proposed condition is essentially to build a new retaining wall adjacent to the existing New York City DOT retaining wall. And then the new retaining wall would support the soil for the raised park. So the city DOT retaining wall supports kind of the fill for the FDR Drive and this kind of whole East Houston Street area. And then the new adjacent retaining wall would support the fill of the raised park. And then again, just for illustrative purposes, here you have the park entrance path, and then there's the lawn area directly when you enter. We did have some conversation about the East Houston Street entrance at the June 2022 CAG meeting. So almost a year ago, we did also talk about East Houston Street again. So I put that link here, and that talked about some of the safety measures at East Houston Street. But that also had the renderings and the plan view as well. So if you'd like to go back to that presentation, you could see more on East Houston Street. So basically this lays out the schedule for the East Houston Street retaining wall, which we'll be working on really through the rest of the project. So where we are now in 2023, we had started the removal of the southern portion of the ramp and sidewalk. I believe next week they'll start the pile install in the southern area. That'll start with some test piles before they actually start the pile work, but that will continue into 2024. And then in the beginning of 2024, that's when they should start the build of the new south retaining wall. Once that's completed, then in Q3, they'll start with the removal of the northern portion of the ramp. So the circulation as it is right now will continue into next year. We have been actively kind of monitoring that area. We have taken back all of the comments that we got on the signage and kind of how to make that circulation better. So we are, it's a tricky area. There's a lot going on there. So please know that we are, again, working on that, with all parties involved. On the what we've heard slide, at the last CAG meeting, there was a question about the East 10th Street construction activities. So we did address that at the last CB3 meeting. So for anyone who wanted to have more information about the East 10th Street construction activities, please see the last CB3 presentation, which the link is here. For pedestrian signage category, we have been communicating with DOT and the contractor about the pedestrian lane along the FTR Drive service road at the Delancey Street intersection. So that is not possible currently due to the existing construction. There's just not enough room there. So we are going to have to keep the detour the way it is right now. But again, as soon as the pier work in that area, which we are looking to have an update at the next CAG meeting on that timeline, similar to the East Houston Street timeline that we just went over. As soon as we have that, that the pier work right on the corner, once that finishes up, then we should be able to open up the sidewalk again. So again, we did look into that, and it's just not, there's just not enough room to put in an extra pedestrian lane there. We also spoke with Paula and Tara about the CAG meeting agenda, and that was a request to have that come back. So apologies for not getting it to you before this CAG meeting, but we will have it for the CAG meetings moving forward again. So now we're going to go into the construction approach update. I am going to probably just go through the whole presentation, including PA2 and PC, since those are, it's only 4 slides at the end. So we'll just take this presentation straight through, and then we can have questions at the end. So first, to just update on some of the accomplishments for 2022-2023, we have averaged about 52% open space. We completed the removal of Corlier's Hook and Delancey Street bridges. We constructed the temporary bridge. About 85% of the phase 1 deep sewer work is completed. So we are almost 100% complete with all of the deep sewer work. 100% of the phase 1 and phase 2 stone column work is completed. So when we took that little piece of ball field 3 in the second phase, we were able to complete all the stone column work again for both phases. We were able to maintain limited public access on the shared use path, which originally, we anticipated on having the full shared use path closed. Our community construction liaisons have been out in the field and did notice some kind of potholes and things from the winter months and the wet. Well, we didn't really have snow this year, but just from the winter kind of wear and tear, the freezing and thawing. So we are working with the contractor to fix up the paths. I think there was one, especially at the 6th Street entrance, where there has been a bit of flooding and ponding in that area. So again, we're working on those entrances with the contractor. Ongoing coordination with parks on material salvaging, maintaining the Corlier's Hook ferry access, and for project area 2, the Stive Cove Park ferry access. And then Parks and EDC did open the Pier 42 deck and are moving forward with the Pier 42 upland, which I couldn't believe. Again, it's not part of our project, but it's all planted. So if you haven't seen it, which I'm sure many of you have, it's really looking like it's moving along. Okay, so project status. So the ESCR program is still on schedule to finish in 2026. The team continues to evaluate the schedule and available work areas while maintaining the 42% open space access. And then the updating phasing approach. So when we presented in October, we presented this 2-phase approach. There was kind of south of Stanton Street as phase 1, and then north of Stanton Street as phase 2. And then within those phases, if you remember, and we have the graphics in the next couple of slides, there were kind of sub phases that the contractor would work to reopen. So within phase 1, which is south of Stanton Street, and that's what the focus is on right now, opening that phase 1. The original kind of plan or intent that the contractor had thought would be best was to work from south to north, again, to start opening things in the south first and then kind of continuing his way north. the kind of revised approach that the contractor has taken is to prioritize the northern portion of phase one, because that is where the kind of the deepest sewer excavation, the majority of the deep sewer work is, and that is the area where there is the most fill. And the settlement of the fill is, and we've talked about it at previous presentations, is somewhat unknown depending on just the soil conditions. So the approach of kind of switching the priority prioritizes the higher risk and longer duration the longer duration operations. A tongue twister there. And this prioritization reduces the likelihood of schedule slip. So as you will see in the next couple of presentations, the opening dates for phase one shifted slightly. However, the phasing does realign in summer of 2024. As we are moving through the project, the contractor and our PMCM team is looking for ways to do work prioritization and acceleration. Again, that October 2021 preliminary phasing was, a guide to the approach. And then as the work begins, things change. And there are different, the contractor needs to shift as certain, um, construction findings or things change. So in phase one, again, the prioritization, so there was a change in prioritization to complete the deep sewer utility work for the fill operations to begin. So that was, again, a prioritization shift. And then that essentially the contractor is completing work operations in parallel, so working on the full area of phase one instead of kind of working from south to north to get those areas opened. And then an acceleration was the phase two ball field stone column installation. So again, that will accelerate the work in phase two. So we are, as the project is progressing, looking for prioritization and acceleration opportunities, and these are two of them. So just for summer 2022, everything kind of remained for the most part as was. So just stepping back, the illustration on the top of the page is the October 2021 preliminary phasing. So this was the approach that was presented in October of 21, so about a year and a half ago. And then at the bottom in our newer renderings, which I think is much easier to read, is the summer, is the kind of updated phasing. So we are starting here with summer of 22. Again, we were able to keep parts of the shared use path open, and up in Reach J was the Con Ed Parks project, and kept the connection between PA2. So for summer 2023, this is where we see the first kind of change in the openings. So in our October preliminary phasing, we originally had anticipated that the contractor would be able to, or that we as a team would be able to start opening kind of the Reach C here and Reach D. Because the contractor and the team has put that priority on the deep sewer and the fill area, because again, the fill is primarily in the kind of middle of the park, and then it tapers down towards the end of the park to meet existing grade, and that's where the flood walls are. So at Reach C over here, there's not nearly as much fill as there is kind of in Reach E and Reach F. Again, so to prioritize that fill settlement, the contractor focused on what we're calling the northern portion of phase one, instead of kind of focusing on the southern portion. So there will be a slight shift in the opening of the lower areas here, Reach D and Reach C. The Corlears Hook Park completion pending the archaeology, which again, we're hoping to hear more about that soon, is still on target for an end of year 2023 completion. But again, we have to see what happens with the archaeology in that area. Again, we'll be able to keep all of the areas north of Stanton Street still open, so the contractor will not move forward in taking any additional areas, and we will maintain the 42% open space, which right now is about 50%. Okay, and then as we move into early summer 2024, again, that's when we'll start seeing the lower areas reach C and reach D open. At this point, Corlier's Hook Bridge will be open. And then again, only when the contractor is able to give back open space will they take open space. So early summer 2024, the contractor will start to move into the northern reaches in phase 2. And then in winter of 2024, we become realigned with where we had originally anticipated being in having the phase 1 will be fully open as projected again in the October 21 preliminary phasing. We will have the same kind of phase 1 open, and then the contractor will move into phase 2. And then in summer of 2025, it will remain the same. With summer of 2026, then we'll start to see the opening of Reach G and then Reach J at the end. And then the last little bit here will reopen in late 2026 as originally projected. We did update the graphic schedule, and I know it's always requested that the bar chart schedule be updated. We were hoping to have that for today to show not only the new schedule, but also where it was originally scheduled for, so that you could see both on one graphic, but we didn't have that quite ready. So again, once that's ready, we will provide that as well, because I knew that that was going to be one of the questions that were asked. So this is probably a little bit to digest, for just now. So again, we will be at CB3 in June. I think it's the second week of June, and then we'll be back, here at the end of June to address more, additional questions as you have them. For PA2 construction progress, so for any of you who did attend the CB6 presentation, we did present and then kind of update to, I'm not sure if Sandy's on the call, but the northern part of Stuycove Park, so north of East 20th Street, that is scheduled to reopen on Friday. So we're very excited about that. The planting and the seawalls are looking really great. So you will be able to access that from East 20th Street and the Solar One area. So we will have a full playground and a half a park opened. And these are some of the images of the gates, gate 13 and gate 17 that were installed. Gate 13 was installed at the intersection of East 20th Street, and 17 on the FDR service road. And then the southern portion of East 20th Street, we thought we were going to be able to open that on Friday as well. We've been coordinating with EDC and Solar One, and we are going to wait until June to open the area between the ferry landing and East 20th Street. So this little sliver part here, where folks are currently walking to access the ferry. So we thought that that was going to be able to open on Friday, but we have to wait a bit and reopen it in June. And then the plantings will follow in the fall. So this just reiterates that. And then we're hoping that the connection between project area 1 and project area 2 can also be reopened in June as well. So just AQM update. We added monitors 15 and 16 here to cover the flood wall work that was happening here and to just kind of have a good distribution of air quality monitors, as the work picks up as far as, material and some of the now we're moving above ground. And then the monitors remain the same here. So again, that's 2 new monitors. The April 2023 update, we did have some, alerts that were a little bit longer than what the 15-minute typical ones that we've had. Again, primarily in this Montgomery Street to Jackson Street area. Some of it was due to vehicular traffic. Some of it was, again, the offsite construction activities, which is, I think, what we talked about the last time, that the other work that's happening down at in that area. But, overall, dust suppression techniques were applied. We did not surpass the PEL for this month. And again, as you could see, it was mostly in this Montgomery Street to Jackson Street area. Most of the rest of the park was, again, just short alerts. So we are working with the contractor and the other projects to address those. For project area 2, and we need to update the other map, but since most of the work or most of the dust generating work in this East 23rd Street area is completed and the work is kind of shifting south, we did move one of the monitors down to just south of Murphy Brothers Playground. Again, to focus on where the construction is actually taking place. And then for the PQM air quality update, again, in the kind of this Solar One area or the Sky Cove Park area, there were no updates. And then in the Murphy Brothers Playground area, which the monitors are named the ALP monitors, there were a few alerts, and then there were kind of these it was the duration wasn't kind of an all day alert, and there weren't construction activities occurring in that area. So it was assumed that a third-party source was responsible. And we can get more information on that if you are interested. For a quick PC construction update, basically the main update on this is in Area 1. PC has started the water main replacements in progress. We have been coordinating with all of the residents in that area on the test water main shutoffs and then the full water main shutdowns. And we've been having calls, et cetera, and our community construction liaisons have been doing a great job. So again, we have the water main replacement happening up here, and then test pit operations happening in locations 2, 3, and 4. With just project area surveys down in the, or rather up in the northern part around Avenue C. And then again, this is the typical construction sequencing. Again, we're going to be starting with the southern portion of the project and then move north. So that is the update for today. We had a lot of photos in the CB3 and CB6 presentations. So again, I will welcome you to look at those if you want to see construction photos. I tried to keep, the presentation rather short to focus on any questions that would come up, on the phasing or any other questions that you have.
Thanks, Desiree. I think Frank had his hand up first.
Thanks, Paula. Hey, Desiree, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good, good. I have a couple of questions. One is, in terms of the work on Water Street, the parallel conveyance work, are you able to confirm? Because just so you know, from our perspective, and I think you are aware, there's just so much going on, and there's so much work all at the same time in that area that I wasn't clear whether or not I sent you an image, and I don't expect you to recall that right now, but there was a box in the floor from let me see, let me pull it up myself. Miramax Engineering, and it said monitoring in progress. Do you know if that is related to the parallel conveyance work?
Yes,
Um,
that's a vibration monitor for the parallel conveyance work. And sorry we didn't respond. We were
no,
still
that's
trying
okay.
to just get clarification on that.
So that is okay. So that is so then my I know that there's also obviously a lot of flyers that go around, and you know we definitely when we get it we try our best to make sure that it's up in Gouverneur Gardens specifically. But do you know how long the street is going to be closed down for?
For
Is that
Water
just
Street,
like yeah, is that just like what we're talking about, like the limited parking, the flyer that says let me see, which one is it?
yeah, this one right here, Water Street between Jackson and Gouverneur Slip.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, I know it says ongoing until further notice, but is that like a month? Is that
Yeah, so
maybe you don't have an idea, but
no. So the water replacement work that's happening in that area is approximately 3 weeks. So it's intermittent shutdowns, kind of on and off. And again, just the work in that area is going to be kind of ongoing. Like this is the area where, all of the work is focused on. So we can try and get similar to how I had a slide that focused on the kind of longevity of the East Houston Street retaining wall. We could look to try and get a slide that talks about, okay, in this area one, what are the operations that are going to be ongoing here, to give folks a better look ahead of what's going to be going on.
that would be really, really helpful. And just because I know for us, putting on the Gouverneur hat for a second, and I know you're aware that we have a very complex capital improvement project going on, and I know Vladek across from us has their own work ongoing right now. And we're trying to figure out because uh, we're trying to understand when we could actually use a street for storage of various activities, but we've gotten responses that like everything is all booked up. So we in other words, so that would be really helpful. Maybe we can continue this offline because we need some street space for all this construction that's ongoing. But the information that was relayed to me, and I just don't know how accurate that is, was that like everything was already like reserved by the city. So it's causing a lot of problems for us to figure out what to do with, that no one else can now like claim any spots along that street, along that corridor.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. And I mean, I think that's also something that we could definitely take offline, similar to the
Yeah, yeah.
coordination that we did with Project Area 1. We can do the same thing kind of with a site visit if necessary, and coordinate with the parallel conveyance team also.
I appreciate that. So we'll do that offline. My next question is if we can just very quickly go to the air quality monitoring for Project Area 1.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to see because I'm using my cell phone, so I just need to zoom
So
in.
then this would
So
be very difficult to read.
well, I'm okay. I think I'm managing it, but we'll see. So we have exceedances. Those are the dates in bold. So it looks like almost every date for the 2.5. Yeah, exactly, except for the 12th. And then so is it
Right. The
fair to
bolded,
say,
the bolded
yeah,
ones are the net exceedances. So like the unbolded one is just like if a monitor has an exceedance, so then it's very localized. And then if It's bolded, it's a net exceedance, which means kind of 2 monitors. It's like the net of the 2 monitors because there was wind or something like that. And again, if we need more clarification on that, I could also review that at the next meeting. But yes, go on.
No, no, but you just explained it actually well, but that wasn't my question, but I thought that was helpful. No, my question is, I just feel like we're, and maybe I'm wrong and I'm not understanding all the different sort of updates and as they intersect, but it again, this has to, I'm being very tunnel vision here with the area of like Water Street and South Street, right above Montgomery, because it's really hard for us to figure out with all these air quality monitorings where it's coming from. And I brought up that previously with regards to Pier 42 activity when there was monitors kind of right at that entrance, and it's like, well, which is it? You know, is it work that's specifically ESCR, or is it work related to Pier 42 construction? But in this case, my question is, are we able to tell whether or not this is, because it says when you say on-site vehicle traffic, are you talking about the FDR, or are you just talking about a lot of exceedance traffic right near the, you know, the monitor itself, like wherever, I don't know if that's going down Jackson or on South Street or whatever. So that's really like,
Yes. Yeah, so anything that's on site would be kind of that's what we're calling like within the ESCR project limits. And then anything that's off-site, so like off-site construction activities would, just for example, be like the Pier 42 construction work.
but would does this you may not be able to say this, but does this also accurately reflect like vehicular traffic that's not related to construction, meaning like FDR traffic and stuff like that, or is that hard to say?
Well, the FDR traffic is kind of the background, and I don't
It's
know
sort of
all the
like an
correct
average, maybe?
terminologies, but that's
Sure.
like a constant. Yeah. So that
Constant, yeah.
stays
So
as a
that,
constant. Yeah.
so you would kind of be able to understand if that, or maybe not, but if that was raised to any degree or anything. I'm just wondering because I know like last year there was controversy around a monitor being near a bus stop. So that was an example where it's not related to the construction, and I'm just trying to figure out if when we get these responses, if you're able to tease scenarios like that out from the construction itself. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, similar to like on PA2 on the chart where there was like an all day, exceedance, and it was out of the construction operation time, and there wasn't any dust there, that's something where it was from an outside source, so if there were, at Montgomery Street to Jackson Street or anywhere on the PA1 project, is there was a consistent, when we had the bus issue on PA2, it was a consistent, pretty consistent reading. And after looking at, monitoring the site and monitoring that location, it was determined that that's what it was. So if there started being some, exceedance that was,
That was more consistent, like,
completely right on
yeah,
average,
it's
then we would
aberration
have
and
to
then
start.
consistent. Okay,
Right, right. And then
that makes
last year
sense.
we had like the wildfires that came through, and then, and that was on the West Coast, and that caused it to go up. So, it's what we're averaging now. Again, they're small alert durations, for the most part here. Nothing is over, I mean, it seems like the offsite construction activities are what is bringing it over, over in 60
Hmm.
minutes. But most of the other ones are smaller. So something would have to really stand out for it to, be something like the bus thing.
Okay, that makes
And it
sense. And
was
I'm sorry. Oh,
baseline was the was the word I was looking for.
baseline, yeah. There was one thing I meant to ask previously, and then I'm done, which is back to the vibration monitor that you've now confirmed is related to parallel conveyance. Uh, why, I'm just curious, why would there be a vibration monitor? Is that standard, or is there something that they're doing that would maybe affect any changes in the vibration
So
readings?
it's standard. We have noise, vibration, and air for all of the projects. It's a standard reading. It depends on, it's monitored. I mean, it's uh, kind of, it's something that is influenced if there's existing infrastructure like the FGR drive or a building or, something that is within a certain distance from certain construction activities, then it warrants to have, a vibration monitor.
And the vibration monitor that we have at one of our properties at Gouvenier, that's more specific to the ESCR rather than not, it's right. I mean, that's not, it's not like you can use that for parallel conveyance purposes, right? Or it's just because it's two
Well, I
separate
mean,
separate contracts.
yeah, the vibration monitor is just to ensure, again, that vibrations aren't impacting the structure in any way and that they're, it's being monitored. So if there's work, any type of work, honestly, the monitors that are in your building, it would, if your capital construction work was causing vibrations, capital improvements work was causing vibrations, it would pick up any type of vibration. And, should there be an issue, it would, that would be picked up. So it's just within the relation of where the vibration monitor is, regardless of which project it is.
Got it. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Diane.
I think Diane was next.
Hi, Desiree. Sorry, I'm not on camera. I'm not camera ready today.
No,
Um,
that's fine.
Okay, so I have 4 things. First of all, very quickly, thank you for the sketch of the Houston Street retaining wall. I get it now.
Okay, good. Yes, I think it's helpful to see. So I'm
Yes,
glad,
yes,
we put
that-
it forward.
Right. I think what we weren't understanding was that, there's already a retaining wall there. Why do we need
Right.
another retaining wall? But I see what you're saying, that this is specific to ESCR, and, that's great. Thank you. So my other questions are about the new information that you presented on the schedule. So first of all, I'm wondering if you have more detail on the Esplanade demolition, what that means and what this pedestrian path is. I'll ask my other 2 questions and then we can, and then.
Wait, so can I just clarify that
Oh
one?
yeah,
So,
sure.
yeah, sorry, because then I'm going to forget if you ask all
Okay.
So what specifically on the Esplanade is the
So,
question?
yeah, so in 2024, summer 2024.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so this looks like they're going to take the Esplanade down, even though the inner areas of the park will be open. And there's a note there that says pedestrian walkway between ball fields and Esplanade demolition will be maintained. What does that mean?
So it means that they will start to do some demolition of the Esplanade. However, there will still be pedestrian access here. So the
Okay.
access will still remain kind of around the ball field areas, but the Esplanade demolition will start to happen in kind of a phased approach.
Okay, if they can get you more detail on that, that would be really helpful, because obviously that's a very heavily traveled place, and in the summer it's pretty full. So, and I'm having trouble envisioning where this pedestrian path would be. So I don't know, if you can get more information from them about that so we can understand it better, that would be great.
Yep.
I hope this is an easy one. You mentioned that the southern part of Sty Cove will open in June. Do you know when the connector path between Sty Cove and East River Park will be able to reopen?
That is also scheduled to open in June as well. So as long
Great.
as they can move forward with completing kind of the gate work that they have to do in that area, and I'm not going to flip all the way forward to the
No,
to those
that's fine.
slides.
Yeah,
But
that's fine.
as soon as they can, as soon as they could open up, we've stressed so much that is such an important connection. And especially once Sty Cove Park opens, that will be amazing to have that back open. So as soon as they can finish up the gate work that's really blocking that connection, then they'll open that up.
Okay, and then finally, the fill settlement. So, when does the contractor expect to have a clearer idea of the fill settlement plan, or will we just kind of be winging it? We'll put the fill in, we'll see how long it takes to settle.
I don't want to say we'll be winging it, but from past presentations, it is somewhat of an unknown.
Okay.
It depends on the site conditions. It depends on kind of the weather that we're having, because all of these kind of environmental issues, they play a part on how the fill settles and the fill time. All of the wick drains are in and installed. So again, they can start that next process. The fill that is coming in, this first batch of fill, is going to be, which is why I kind of asked if we could, and this is fine, I'll continue to respond, but if there are additional fill questions, it would really be great to wait for CB3 or CAG. The first fill that's coming in is just a small portion of the larger amounts of fill that's coming in,
Mhm.
to kind of level off some of the areas where we did excavation. So
Mhm.
it's not, this is just the first step in bringing the fill in. And then we're hoping to get a better idea of what the rest of that schedule looks like. However, we did want to bring it up so that way people, everyone's not shocked when it does start coming in. And then we can, continue to kind of to talk about what that schedule looks like and how that will be kind of phased. And again, yeah, we've been getting that question since we first started presenting, 33 CAG meetings ago. And and there is, I feel like as it's installed and as we start, seeing how the settling is going, then I think we'll be able to have a better idea. But from what I've been, explained, or what I've been told, there is somewhat of an unknown, and that is one of the main reasons why the prioritization moved, again, to that area where the fill
Mhm.
is for project area 1, because we can't build in that area until that's settled. So once once the fill is there, then we could kind of shift focus to the south.
I think it'd probably be helpful also when you speak at CV3 and we go into more detail about the fill, if you would, give some of the reasons for why it's unknown that you just told me.
Sure.
The weather and different things, because I think that helps people figure it out more. Okay,
Yep.
that's it. I'm done.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wendy.
Hi there. I have a couple fill questions and a couple others. The fill, once it's supposedly settled and grass is back on top or play fields, is there any guarantee about it settling further in the coming years? Is there anything to the, because I know the ball fields, et cetera, need to be level.
Yep. So the compaction of the fill is tested throughout the settlement period, and it is determined that it is fully compacted once all of the compaction readings show that compaction rate. So like when you're doing something as simple as installing a sidewalk, there's, if there's 4 feet of fill under the sidewalk, that soil has to be kind of tested for a known, a specified compaction rate before the sidewalk can be built. So similar to installing, fill and then building on top of it in any project, it's the same methodologies would happen here. There's a certain compaction rate that the soil needs to get to, and once the full area is tested, then it could be built upon.
In the case of a sidewalk, you're putting a layer of concrete on top. Here, you have many open spaces that are not concrete on top. That's what I'm asking about, is beyond that period.
Once the soil is compacted to that rate, it stays compacted. Maybe I'm missing the question.
No, that's Del Tares, the one consultant who reviewed the project, estimated 3.5 years. No, 3 barges a day for 3.5 years. Is that still the schedule?
I have to check on that. Like I said, I am not prepared to answer all Phil questions today. I was focusing on PA1, but if there are specific Phil questions, the best thing to do is to send them over and then I will address them at the next CB3 or CAG meeting.
Okay, because all right, I will do that. You're going to be talking about it there. Is it, but also my other question would be, is it coming by barge? And
Yes.
okay, good. Okay, so then you talked with Frank about the vibration monitors. Can we see the reports from those?
So we report air quality and any other type of environmental reporting. Again, noise, more specifics on air quality and vibration would need to be foiled.
Would need to be foiled. Okay.
Yes.
Back to page 8, where you show the Houston Street. Yes, there. In the proposed conditions, where's the bike lane? Because you have a greenway that is, I thought, right next to that roadway. Is it still the case?
So the greenway, and it is, you'll be able to see it in the June 22nd, June of 2022 CAG, the site plan that's in that meeting. There's like a hatch for where the bike lane goes. The bike lane or greenway, you are correct. It runs right along the FDR drive for almost the entirety of the East River Park, kind of below the raised park. And at East Houston Street is I believe it's the only location where it actually comes up to the raised grade of the park. And it actually, there's a past this little lawn area, there's another path here, and the greenway runs on that path.
Okay, and most of the park though slopes down to the drive. Is that correct? That most of the
Yes.
west side of the park slopes down to the drive. Is that except where the bridges are coming in? Or is it even where
Yes.
the bridges are? And this is the
No.
only exception.
So I will have to go back and double check, but I believe the greenway runs kind of under the other overpasses, and Houston is the only place where it comes up. But please don't quote me on that, and I will look into it because it is I think it's in the PDC presentation.
So there's a line of trees, space for bikes. How wide is the space for bikes?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I do not have all the specifics. We went over that in June of 2022, and that's kind of the last time I did a deep dive on the specifics of Houston Street.
Wendy,
So,
if there's questions that are specific to that degree, Wendy, it might be best if you put it in an email and we can get Desiree to answer them. But I think if it's something about like widths and things of that sort, it might be best to just summarize it and we can get the questions to Desiree so she can get answers back.
Okay, here's my, so lots of us responded to the current existing conditions as people come into the park. And my neighbor stopped me last night. He's a runner. And he said that he had a narrow miss crossing over Houston into the park. And he said, why isn't the whole sidewalk open and just close the gate for the south? Let people cross over and then put the gate there instead of closing off that whole section. Of what?
yeah, I think it's the safety of the pedestrians and the proximity of the construction activities, since they did demolish the ramp in that area, the ramp and part of the sidewalk in that area. So again, I could bring that back, but we also had the same question because I think that was something that when we first, learned of the detour, we had also thought that sidewalk would be open, but for the safety of pedestrians, it was said that needed to remain closed.
Well, because I think there's still people crossing through traffic there to get to the northern entrance because it's not clear enough to people. And just like, we can't remove parking on the service drive where people are walking because there's a detour. this to me seems even more important. There's a lot more people walking through there. Diane sent a whole list of problems she saw over 10 minutes, just 10 minutes. And it'd be really good if we didn't have any accidents there, especially since cars go up the ramp and go straight back onto the FDR when traffic is blocked on the FDR. And it just seems like it's quite a mess right there from a pedestrian's perspective, especially as we have more families going into the park and more elders. I helped people get over there who were completely confused the other day, coming to see their granddaughter play baseball. You know, it's a real problem there. And that's a current condition that's going to continue till what year? 2026?
Yes, and as I mentioned, we are actively monitoring it and working on how to make that entrance better. And I will say again, like I said, we are still working on it, but there are also signs that say sidewalk closed ahead, and people continue, as in many of our other detours, to still cross the street there. So I will say again, it is an active, you know, I don't want to say issue, but it is an active intersection that we are looking to improve. But we also really need the community to pay attention to the detour signs as well. You know, again, we didn't want to close off the entire island that's in between the two lanes of the FDR, so that in case people do start crossing and need refuge, that it's open. But you know, it is a tricky intersection, and we really, really need the community and the runners who run there every day to follow the detour that's in place. And again, we are continuing to work on, you know, any improvements that can be made.
I'd really like to suggest signage on the ramp from the FDR to let drivers understand that this is a dangerous intersection ahead. And I don't know that drivers have any cautions, nothing about slow zone, nothing there. And people are hurrying to get on the drive, and it's an accident waiting to happen. And I'd be very sad if we couldn't prevent that.
Yes, I completely agreed.
Io?
Io, you have a question?
Yeah, sorry about that. Can we go back to the slide that says 2022?
Sure.
Okay. So just to be clear, everything that is in orange is closed now. Is any part of it going to be open before 2026?
Yes.
What
Um,
what
did-
I'm listening.
So, sorry, did you, I'm sorry, just so that I know, did you see the full presentation, or?
I did not. I joined a few minutes late.
Okay, because there are lots of slides that go through the full phasing and opening of the park, and it will be completely opened in late 2026. So sorry, I just wanted to make sure if there was just a misunderstanding.
Then you don't have to repeat it to me, because we're going to get a copy of these slides, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, you don't have to
And
take
we
time to repeat it to me.
and we will be at CB3 and again at next month's CAG as well. So, you know, we'll still be here if there are additional questions.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
You're welcome. Yep.
I don't see any other questions. Ooh, Wendy.
I forgot to ask, what happened to the Pinch Point Bridge? It wasn't mentioned here in the schedule. That's up at the, north end of the park.
Yep. So that is currently under design with DDC. That's a separate project. And we can get an update on that to provide, you know, either in the interim or at the next CAG meeting.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all again for taking the time. I know it's now that the weather's warm, it is increasingly harder. And with Memorial Day coming up, I bet a lot of people are busy getting ready for that. So thank you again. And again, any questions you could send through the inquiry tool or through Paula and Tara. Again, through the inquiry tool, it keeps a record, and there's a group of us that get that. And you could also send again through Paula and Tara as well. So thank you so much, and we will see you again at CB3. But again, if any questions come in, we'll do our best to get those responded to before then.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Desiree. Okay, so it's 5:08 as we typically do. Let's take a 2-minute break before the CAG only conversation. So see you in about 2 minutes.
Brianna?
Hi, everybody. I'll give you a few seconds to get back if you left your seat. Okay. Okay, now is the chance for you guys to bring anything up that wasn't discussed before. I'm opening up the floor.
Wait, actually, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you. I don't mean to jump in on this just because Frank's leaving. I know I wanted to bring up the local hiring meeting. I still have not received the data from DDC. So I actually created a new doodle looking at dates for I think a few dates for next week, but then going into the following week as well. And since folks are here, if you could, only 3 people filled out the doodle for the last time. Of course, obviously some folks are not here, so we will email them, but if I could get a jump start for those who are interested in participating in that local hiring meeting, I just put the doodle in the chat. If you could fill that out, that would be great. Sorry, Paul, I didn't mean to jump in, but I just wanted to make sure that folks are aware of what's happening there, especially specifically Frank, because I know he was definitely interested. So thank you,
I'm
Frank.
sorry, can I also jump in, Tara and Paula?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just, so I originally put in my dates. Do I have to redo them based on this? I mean,
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm sorry. I would have done that.
yeah,
Okay,
unfortunately,
I'll
there
do
are
that
new
now.
dates. Yeah, I hadn't received anything from, not enough people responded, but I also did not receive the data from DDC. So I am going
No,
to,
that's fine. I thought for some reason like it would just change some of the times and eliminate, but my dates would still stay. So I'll do that. Okay.
all right.
Thanks for
If only
saying that.
or that dynamic. Thank you. I apologize. I know it's like,
No, no problem.
but thank you. Okay, so I'm sorry to go back to just what was discussed today. I know that there were some changes that were made as far as the presentation of the data. I know that there wasn't quite what we'd anticipated as far as previous scheduling milestones compared to the current. It looks like they'll have it, if not for CB3, they'll have it for the next CAG. But just wanting to, yes, open the floor to any other questions or concerns.
Hi, it's Diane. I think that, I think it's great. I mean, it seems logical to me that, they're prioritizing the work that they said the way they said they're going to. But I think that this situation with the fill is really a wild card. You know, I guess I think it would be good for us to ask some more specific questions like, is there like an expected rate that the fill is going to settle that allows you to project this schedule into the future and assure us that this work will be done by 2026, or how much variation is there? When they first proposed this approach to East River Park, we actually tried to research fill rates. We looked at how long it took the landfill in Governor's Island to settle, things like that. But there doesn't seem to be a lot of information out there about, kind of what to expect when you're dealing with large amounts of landfill. So I do think that that's something that we should keep asking questions about in an organized way.
Absolutely. It looks like they might have some more questions. I'm sorry, more information in time for CB3. So I'm not sure if you all want to wait for that, or if you want to start organizing your questions now. Open to thoughts on that.
I mean, I think we should do it now because CB3 is still not for a couple of weeks. So if we could get a list of questions together and get them to Desiree, she might be able to get some of those answers before CB3, and that the discussion of the bill could be a little bit more detailed.
Okay. All right. So far we've got, I'm sorry, Martin.
Yeah.
All right.
It's probable that my time on the CAG will be limited as Stuyvesant Cove Park area is opening in the northern area and hopefully in the southern part of it in the late fall. But you really should insist at this point on things that you want to get done in the park, maybe particular designs of benches, or like we've right from the start asked for a police call box, since the wall makes the visibility of anyone in the park from Avenue C or by Stuyvesant Town impossible, since it's a 10-foot wall. They never put it into any of the plans. And we've asked again. We had a walkthrough the other day, and maybe we can force a plan addendum going forward. He said this shouldn't be much of a problem, but nonetheless, the park's been done pretty much in the time frame that they said it would, which I was really surprised, because in most construction it's double the cost and double the time. But I'm pleased that it's done. There's supposed to be a ribbon cutting, I believe, on Sunday, even though she said the park was going to open on Friday. But it's something to look forward to. You know, this started what in 2019 or 2018, and 2023 came fairly quick, and 2026 will come quickly enough as well. So, you know, try to be optimistic. That's all.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope it doesn't come too quickly. Time is flying. No offense, but this is good to know as far as organizing around some additional or some items that haven't quite been neglected. Martin, is the council member involved with or aware about the desire for callback express that to DDC as well?
We've told everybody. We actually had a meeting. Oh, this was right before COVID, so maybe January of 2020, and the council members rep was there, as well as about 20 people in the room and 20 people on the phone. It was everyone involved, from the design through the ownership, through the construction, and they were all in on this one meeting. As we were somewhat upset what the final design was, because when the original designs did not have these walls, it was kind of a berm that the park was going to be on the berm, and you know, it is what it is. It's what we have. It will protect Stuyvesant Town and Peter Cooper Village and the surrounding areas from the next Hurricane Sandy, which is going to happen. So, job done. The water wall, the gates are 100,000 pounds. It's an amazing apparatus that just slides fairly smoothly across to cross the entranceway.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Sure.
So Wendy, I know you had some questions regarding the fill that we can start collecting to send over to DDC.
Yeah, but you know, we also asked for a call box in PA1. It's somewhere around the track, which is completely dark at night, and no response to that. So it'd be great to have one there. You may have your flood protection now, but it's going to be a long time before people who live adjacent to East River Park have it. And of course, they said no to interim flood protection. And so we're not in good shape. But I would like it if, when they present at CB3 and they're talking about the fill, more about the process. How much vibration and noise will be involved in encouraging it to settle? Are they going to be pounding all day and all night? And how is that going to be mitigated and monitored? And they just told us to foil it if we want to know about vibration now. I have a feeling that's going to be pretty intense noise for people who live close by, but they haven't told us about it. So that's another question regarding the fill. The question of, is it guaranteed? What happens after they say it's done and 5 years later it's got big divots in it? Who's responsible? We saw when they fixed the outfalls along the river and that were completed in just before Hurricane Sandy, those have already failed. Less than 10 years for all that work. So is there any kind of a guarantee with that, Phil? And is it on that schedule? That's the other one. This 3.5 years, 3 barges a day. And there's do you know if there's, and one other question would be, is there already a contract for that fill? And what size of the granules that are coming in? Because that makes a difference in how fast it settles as well. So, and that's all about, about all I have here now. It's just, it made me sad to hear Reach C is not going to be elevated. That's where the compost yard was. And they cut down 35 mature trees there that they were saying, oh, we don't know where the fill is going to be in the future. And it's really a shame that we lost all that is at the same time. But not much we can do about that now, I guess.
Wendy, I'm not so sure that that's not going to get filled. I think that's under discussion, but I don't want to speak for the Ecology Center.
What do you mean?
The compost yard area. They've requested, I believe they've requested to have it elevated,
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
but I don't want to speak for them. I think that's just what I remember. It's been a while.
Oh, because Desiree said today it would not have fill there.
Well,
And,
yeah.
B and C were both part of the fill would taper down there and connect up.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not the expert on it, but I think there's a discussion going on there.
Okay. And my other questions were about the bike lane, the future bike lane. How wide is it? Is there going to be a line of trees separating it and the FDR? It's not super pleasant to be breathing right next to the freeway there or healthy. But that's about all I had on the bikeways is how wide are they going to be?
Okay, so we'll address that in the summary email over to DDC. And then also with regards to the at least that have been raised so far regarding the fill, we'll assemble them and send them out to the group just to make sure folks don't, since we do have a smaller group today, to see if folks have any additional, we'll send it along with the slides so people can take a look as well. So and yeah, I think some people, they may need more context, so they can also watch, you'll have to watch the video as well. But we'll give people some time to do that and gather the questions. We'll give them till probably since it's a holiday, the end of next week. So we'll get the questions to DDC by then. Hopefully they'll have some answers in time for CB3. Unless there's some other questions that folks regarding the fill that folks want to raise now. Since I'm taking notes.
Oh, I just had one suggestion that in the future, Desiree includes links in the presentation, but those could also be added to the chat. So if we wanted to look at them while we're meeting, we could.
Any other questions? Okay, well then, I guess we will adjourn. Watch your email inboxes and have a great holiday weekend. Is there anything else you want to say, Tara, before we?
No, nothing else.
Nothing else?
Happy holiday weekend. Yeah, we'll send. We're going to send an email summarizing what we've talked about so far with regard to fill questions, so we can get them out to the to DDC. But like I said, probably not till the end of next week, since we want to give members time to look. This doodle that I put in the chat, if you are interested in joining the hiring discussion, please fill that doodle out. For those who have already, I see a couple of doodle responses in my inbox. Thank you. And yes, we'll get that email out for you all to take a look at once the slides are up and the video is up. So early next week, and give everyone else a few days to submit questions regarding fill.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a good holiday weekend.
Bye.
Bye.